Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the talk. And I have 50 minutes now to navigate you through the complexities of AI security testing. When I was preparing the talk, I was thinking, how should I start? Maybe the traditional way where basically scare you off with self-driving cars, driving into trees, or backdoors in large language models exposing your private data or anything like that. And I thought maybe we do a talk about the general concepts of cybersecurity and especially cybersecurity for AI systems, since this is not a security conference, so I expect that many people of you are not really familiar with cybersecurity concepts in general. But before we start, I'm from SGS. We are a tech company. Who knows SGS? Please raise your hands. All right, good. So I don't blame the others, so I thought 3 hands. That's not a lot. I joined SGS 4 years ago, and before that I also had no idea who SGS is. But then it turned out we are basically everywhere, and we are the trust corner of a lot of ecosystems. So we are a so-called testing, inspection, certification company. We are global operating. We have offices and laboratories across the globe. We are active in all the industries, and our focus is basically on testing, inspection, certification of all kinds of things, of all kinds of technologies, including consultancy and training. And one of the things we are doing is also looking into the trustworthiness of artificial intelligence system, looking at the security, looking at the fairness, looking at the transparency in those systems, and trying to, together with, or working together with our customers, building systems which can be trustworthy in all kinds of use cases and environments. We're coming back to the original idea of the talk, cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. So when we are talking about that, it's similar to every emerging technology. There's a new technology we are not really fully understanding. Obviously, some are. But with new technologies, there are new cybersecurity threats developed. There are new attack vectors, the new attack surfaces showing up, and we need to deal with. But as we just heard in a panel, when we're talking about AI system, it's not just about the cybersecurity. We need to look at a broader spectrum, how cybersecurity is actually a part of the whole of all the requirements towards a trustworthy AI system. So we have things like safety, we have robustness, we have transparency, explainability, which is important. We have things like bias we need to deal with. So we need to build fair system. We need to think about what's the role of the human in regards to human agency and human control in the AI system. So there are a lot of things we need to consider, not just the cybersecurity part, and there's always a lot of dependencies. So the graph in the middle you see, basically developed by an expert group from the European Union, where it shows that there are dependencies between those bubbles, basically. If you would like to have a private system, you have issues with transparency, etc. And all above that is an AI management system. That's basically for those who are familiar with cybersecurity terms. There's an ISO 27001 standard. It's about cybersecurity management systems. And there's something similar that does exist for AI management. Basically, it defines for an organization who uses deploys or develops AI system, what kind of things they need to consider, what kind of processes they need to implement in their organization to make sure that what they are developing will be trustworthy. And just as a breaking news from our side, so there's ISO 42001, a new standard, a standard for AI management systems, and which basically helps the organization to build trustworthy AI systems. And SGS just recently issued the first ISO 42001 certification for one of our customers. Coming back to the requirements of trustworthy AI and coming back to cybersecurity, as you see, I just showed on a slide the basic 3 different ways to look at the trustworthy AI system. We are basically all the same, just framed a little bit differently, but at the end, they all cover the same similar aspects. And cybersecurity is obviously a key part of all of those things. It's so important that even the European Union AI Act, as most of you are probably familiar with, have a part of in the new regulation which takes care about cybersecurity. They define high-level requirements, what an AI system should basically take care of in terms of cybersecurity. There's obviously some linkage to the Cybersecurity Act and other stuff as well. But interesting here at the end is that they also mention specific AI attacks. So cybersecurity threats which are specifically only working if you're using AI systems. So cybersecurity is important, and there's a lot to think about it. So there's a lot of topics in the cybersecurity domain. Depending on what your AI system does, you need to take care of a lot of things. But the good thing is we already know that. So you don't need to understand everything here in this mind graph. But this is not new for us. We know how cybersecurity needs to be dealt with. We know what we have the tools, we have the methodologies in order to make secure systems in general. When looking at AI, the specific things about an AI system is obviously the AI model, right? That's something new. It's still kind of software, kind of an algorithm, but it's no longer really comparable to a traditional deterministic, simple program. There is a lot more stuff going on there. And when we're looking at cybersecurity, there are specific new cybersecurity threats you should consider. There's something like called the adversarial attacks, meaning that somebody tries to provide then manipulated input to basically cause the model to make errors, to do mistakes. Such an example, like I was mentioning at the beginning, a stop sign on the street, which has a little bit white stickers on it, was able to trick a self-driving car basically to accelerate instead of stopping. Then we have data poisoning and backdoor attacks. That's something interesting because obviously the AI model does what the data shows it, what it can do. So obviously the data is a much more significant, higher importance in what the AI model at the end would do. And data poisoning means you're manipulating this data, this training data you use to create your model, in a way that the AI model performs in a bad way, makes errors, or even can lead to backdoors in your system. Then we have privacy attacks. That's basically a summary of all kinds of different attacks where the idea is I have an AI model, I spent millions of dollars in computational time to train my model. Now I have a well-functioning model, and I don't want that my competitors actually easily extract the weights of my model and can replicate what I've done without spending the same money. But it's also about making sure that nobody can just query the model in a way that it can make conclusions about the training data used. Especially important if you have personal identifying information in your training data, maybe in your healthcare system, in your diagnostic system, where AI models try to help the doctors to see diseases on pictures, for example. You don't want that kind of data which was used for training is leaked. So these are those typical, very AI model-specific cybersecurity attacks, which you also need now to address during your life cycle and include those things you need to check when you're looking in general at your cybersecurity of your system. Important to notice that you need to do that through the whole AI life cycle, right? There's in every step of the AI life cycle, from I start to collect data, I'm preparing the data, I create a model, I decide which kind of AI model I actually would like to use, then I train it, and then I deploy it, I update it, maintain it, etc. In all those steps, there's something security relevant which needs to be done. Some of those AI-specific model attacks are happening in different stages, but you need to take care of that. And you need to make sure that your system behaves securely and is secure throughout the whole life cycle until basically end of life of the AI model. Good. I was mentioning we look at testing. So basically, there are a lot of things you need to now to do to consider through the life cycle to make sure that your AI system is secure. And now we go just through a couple of examples for those who are maybe working on AI models or AI systems and new AI application to give them an idea what kind of things they should consider. And most of them are stuff we already do, we already know from general software or general applications or system what you can do. It's like static application security analysis, static code analysis. So basically, you have source code, even the AI model is just code at the end. There are a couple of security tests you should run to make sure it's secure. There are no obvious bugs in their security vulnerabilities. You can do the same for dynamic application security testing, which means you run the program, you run the AI model and the surrounding system, and then see if there are any vulnerabilities you can discover. Penetration testing is about simulating a real cyber attack on your AI system in a controlled environment. Make sure you didn't overlook something, and most of the time you do. There is no perfect system. Fuzz testing have become in the recent years a very effective method to test software in general, but especially security. A very efficient method to find security vulnerability in all kinds of interfaces you have in your security. Then we have network security testing, compliance testing, where you check that your AI model is compliant to all kinds of new requirements you might have in your industry. Dependency scanning, meaning I have obviously a lot of third-party libraries now, a lot of AI tools used in my system, a lot of tools are used for building my model, etc. You need to make sure that there are no vulnerabilities which can affect you as well. Usability is testing. You use the system and see while the usage if there's any issue you can discover. So this is all not new. This is all we do already if we're developing systems in general, independent of what it actually is. But now the more interesting part is obviously the model testing. This is the new stuff you now need to do. On one hand, you need to make sure first evaluate, is it really relevant that I need to be secure against evasion attacks, against adversarial attacks, etc. And then prepare and test for those things as well. So these are new vectors which you don't usually test in your traditional software development lifecycle. Those traditional tools will not look for that. So this is the new stuff you need to take care of. In addition to all the other stuff you're hopefully already doing, right? And now there's just 2 elements more you had to check. Obviously, they're quite more complicated than that. Important to notice that security testing of AI model is still an ongoing research, right? We have a lot of publications for all kinds of different attacks. There is not yet a systematic approach where you basically have a framework, you apply it, and you know what kind of tests you're running. You're basically doing research, what kind of attacks are applicable in your model, and go through those existing attacks and make sure that they are not applicable in your case, so you do something against that. So coming to an end, basically, to summarize, there's a lot of challenges in cybersecurity and AI. Obviously, cybersecurity is a much broader topic, but it's just one piece in general, the trustworthiness of AI system. But for that, you need a high level of expert knowledge. So you need cybersecurity experts who are actually knowledgeable in the area of machine learning and now understand what an AI model actually is and how can I attack it. Cybersecurity experts are already rare. AI experts are already rare. Now you have 2 things combined, making it even more rarer. Then we have AI is even more rapidly evolving as we see it with the appearance of ChatGPT, with large language models, new models and new systems popping up and new applications. So it's hard to keep up to pace. It's also a constantly changing system. So old traditional methods where you test the system, you get a stamp, it's secure, it's fine, but the system is changing in the next week 5 times, and you basically would need to retest. So this is something we need to think about how you can cope with that. You have the supply chain complexity in cybersecurity in general. For AI, there's just a different angle because you now have different AI components coming into a development, especially the data, where is it coming from, and more. So for one specialty in AI models and security testing is the data availability. If you really would like to test sufficiently an AI model, you need obviously data to test with. You cannot use the training data because it's kind of meaningless in the security test. So you need to kind of create your own data sets, which is obviously a very challenging task because they're highly dependent on your model, what you're doing, what is your domain you're operating in, etc. Good, so what are the key takeaways for you? So cybersecurity is crucial for the success of AI, and I could say that for anything of any emerging technology, so just replace AI with anything else. Important to know this cybersecurity is important. Especially in an area like AI, we see a lot of startups, a lot of new applications, a lot of new use cases popping up more rapidly than in any other technology before. We just need to make sure that we don't forget about cybersecurity. We will hear a lot about fear, about general artificial intelligence and how it will kill us all, and potentially or other dangers of artificial intelligence. We need to think about that as well, but don't forget about the threats we're already facing day to day, which is cybersecurity related. The trustworthiness of AI goes far beyond cybersecurity. So a secure AI system is great and a must, but it does not guarantee that it's trustworthy. As I showed at the beginning, and we heard in the panel, there are a lot of other elements you need to consider as well to call your system trustworthy, basically. The usage of AI increases the complexity of security testing, although they're basically just one element, AI model, now with new attack vectors and new threats. Testing those things against those threats can be becoming more and more complex. So that's something you need to keep in mind. And security testing of AI models lacks still a systematic approach, so there's still ongoing research. There is no existing framework where you just apply and you get be confident enough that your system is secure enough. There are still a lot of things we need to take care of. And that's the conclusion of my talk. Thank you very much.
Tomislav, thank you very much. I think we do have time for a couple of questions, if there are any. And I might kick off because I had one myself.
Go ahead.
I think just on the sort of the trustworthiness and kind of some of the testing elements, where in your experience are you seeing kind of responsibility kind of lie, inside organizations? Is it, we've got the CISO, we've got the CTO, we've got data privacy office, where are you
I would say
that?
shared responsibility. Obviously, there's different elements coming into the case when you develop an AI system. There's data acquired, there's the models designed, there's data scientists working in the back, there's the overall maybe security officer in charge of the overall security. But it's a shared responsibility between different roles, what I see, because it's just a little bit more complex than a traditional system. Now with the additional vectors, threat vectors, we see with AI models and the specialties of the technology that it's a little bit different than our standard software we are using.
Lovely. Anyone there? Over there.
Thank you for a really good presentation, super interesting. I want to continue a little bit on a question that was raised by the panel. And it was the moderator who asked if the panelists knew of any recent AI attacks. And there seems to be a huge potential for security attacks using AI. Do you have any examples, or what are your thoughts could be a coming AI attack or AI?
So obviously there are examples out there. Yeah, you can research them. The most prominent one which make it in the news are those where mostly in the computer vision area, where it's image recognition, and which are more in the area of adversarial attacks. So you're manipulating an image to make whatever the AI system does, like controlling a car, to react differently. Those are the most famous ones. So when you look up at what kind of examples there are, it's always where you can manipulate the input to the AI system, right? If you have such a direct interface without further pre-processing or further security measures in place, and you just take the input, that's an open door for attacks, like for any API basically you would have, right? That's the same thing there. But I would say the number of applications where AI systems are on the surface where you can access them directly is probably limited. They are more working behind the scenes, deeply embedded in other systems, etc. There really depends on how the system has been designed and which way the model can be actually interfaced. One thing which is always in danger, which I have a hard time to find examples because I would assume they're not making it to the public, is obviously data poisoning attacks. So there's a huge threat actually where you take the data, manipulate it, and the model developers are using it for training, and now it does work perfectly fine in 99% of the cases. But there's one case the attacker considered where suddenly it does completely the opposite what it should do. And this is a really concern. But the good thing is also we know how to protect data today. That's just we need to make sure that even if the data seems not protect-worthy in the sense of privacy or of confidential information in there because you just downloaded the public image database, now data poisoning attacks makes all training data sets very, very susceptible to those kinds of attacks, and they need to be protected at all costs, basically. All right?
Tomislav, thank you very much.
Thank you.